So we're going to talk about the big ideas of science. So what are unifying science concepts? Well, according to this book, Teaching Elementary Science, Chapter 3 reads, "The work of scientists and the knowledge that results from that work is characterized by a number of concepts and processes that are universal." So basically, they're universal ideas. They are what we're going to call the big ideas of science. The universal unifying concepts help students to understand the natural world. So they're things that they should be able to relate to based on them being a part of a natural world. So there are 5 big ideas that are identified in the National Science Education Standards. We have systems, order, and organization, evidence, models, and explanation, change, constancy, and measurement, evolution and equilibrium, form, and function. So, systems, order, and organization. Nature is made up of many systems that are related and or connected in some ways. A system is a whole that is composed of parts arranged in a specific orderly manner according to some plan or function. Our body makes up a system, the planets around the sun make up a solar system, and each classroom in our school makes up a system. Children can begin to understand systems by considering the parts that make up a system, the purpose of a system, and the changes that occur in a system. So, summary is that nature is composed of many interrelated systems. Our body lives within an ecosystem, and those are 2 different systems. So what's an example? Well, your digestive system. When you're teaching about the digestive system, I could just teach the parts and move on. Your stomach, your mouth, so on and so forth. But this is not good science and does not teach the big idea. So students need to understand how the systems work as a whole. What happens if a part is missing or broken? What happens if a part is damaged? And what could damage the system? The next big idea is evidence, models, and explanation. Nature behaves in predictable ways, and searching for explanations is one of the most important functions of science. We must teach children how to use evidence and models to develop explanations. That helps us understand our world. Explanations are when we collect evidence and data in order to develop explanations. Models are used in science to represent other things that might be difficult to see or measure. We talked about that in Chapter 1, and we talked about the solar system model, a cell model, using A&P models. Models are a difficult concept for young children to grasp. They don't really understand that they're a big or small version of something, but they do understand the different components. So the summary, nature is predictable, and we can use evidence and models to develop explanations to understand our world. Models are a very important concept of science education. Some examples are phases of the moon, plate tectonics, structure of the atom. For all different reasons, these things are hard to see as they exist in our world, but when we use models, we can put them on a scale that makes it possible. Full-scale models are great to use if possible. So human skeletons, organs, you see these in anatomy and physiology. It's important to communicate to students how the model relates to the real objects. I have to explain to students that the model of an atom is just a model. It doesn't really represent what a real atom looks like. It's idealized. So change, constancy, and measurement. This is our 3rd big idea. The natural world is continually changing, and children should be made aware of these changes. Although change occurs, there are patterns that are repeated constantly over time. One example is every day the sun comes up, and every night the sun goes down. But the amount of time that the sun spins out each day differs year-round. So there's change and constancy in that. And there's measurement. How long is the sun up? Measurements can be used to document changes in constancy over time, consistency over time. Nature is constantly changing, but there are many repeating patterns. Some examples, children can be asked to observe changes in the seasons and changes in the position and apparent shape of the moon. The Earth will rotate every 24 hours, ocean tides come in twice a day, and caterpillars develop into butterflies. The fourth is evolution and equilibrium. All organisms have their own distinctive characteristics, and so there is a great deal of diversity in nature. These characteristics are inherited from one generation to another, and nature selects the characteristics or adaptations that provide advantages for survival. While both organisms and their environments change, natural systems tend to be balanced in equilibrium over time. So, for example, each person has what we call homeostasis in their body. It's what keeps your body well and healthy. But we do know that there have been changes in the human body over a longer period of time. We have vestigial organs like your appendix, pinky toes, things that used to be really important that aren't so important now. But there are things that are going to be important for survival and things that are not going to change about the human body. Organisms are diverse, and nature selects the characteristics or adaptations of organisms that will provide advantages for survival. So, examples: children can quickly come to appreciate the wonderful diversity found in nature and can gradually consider how organisms adapt and change over time. Human origins should not be studied with elementary students. Form and function is our last. It's a relationship usually exists between the form or of an object or organism, how it looks, sounds, feels, smells, and the function of the object or organism, so what it does. There's a relationship between the form of an object and its function. Children can learn to infer the functions of things by closely observing their forms. For example, they can infer what a mammal eats by observing their teeth, or what a bird eats by examining the structure of their beaks. So how does this relate to teaching? When planning your lessons, you should always keep the big ideas in mind. Start with the GLCE and figure out the big ideas that go along with your GLCE. You can discover this during the digging in process. Then write your learning statements and create lessons and activities, always keeping the big ideas in mind. You should be able to tie a big idea to each lesson or unit you teach. There are some resources for you if you need to, or if you are interested in further information about the big ideas and some examples of how to tie them into your curriculum. This ends our Big Ideas of Science lecture. Make sure that you have all of the notes filled in and ready to submit.